What is up, Oasis 6 p.m.? Oh, man, y'all sound like y'all still asleep though. Like, but for real though, like, how you guys doing tonight? We good? Okay, cool. Like, I love our church because like it's just family. Like, and I could just we could just talk like we're family. Is that cool with y'all? Okay, cool. Then that's what I'll do. So I'm going through it right now. Hang on, y'all. So I'm going through it right now, and the reason why. So I'm from Chicago. I'm not sure if. Okay, we got some Chi-Town folks in there. Some people ain't even from Chicago, and they're like, yeah, like, I got a C in my Compton, like, Compton rep for everything. I love Compton. So this week, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this team called the Golden State Warriors. If you are, he has this young light-skinned brother who looks a lot like myself by the name of Steph Curry. And these guys are, they're coming in close on a certain record, a 72-10 Bulls record that was set by Michael Jordan and the greatest team ever. And undeniably, in 1996, it's in the Bible, actually. They didn't publish that part, not yet. I'm working on it. I'm praying, God, just do something amazing. But so basically what's happening is that this team is actually about to beat the record of the Bulls. The Golden State Warriors are a few games away from beating the record. Like, what that means to me is, like, from Chicago, there's this legacy that's there. Like, there's a legacy of greatness when you say 72-10. Like, you can literally end an argument just saying 72-10 to anybody. Like, it's like, oh, what makes Chicago so great? 72-10. In Jesus' name. Like, I'm so serious. But it's something about me, like being from Chicago. It's like, it's part of my identity. It's part of who I am. So when I think about that 72-10 legacy, I think about it's actually a part of who I am. And so what makes that so fascinating is that a lot of times this is the same way that God kind of deals with us. Before we're so focused on a legacy sometimes that we miss out that God actually wants to speak to our identity. Before he taught, and hold on, there was somebody over here who didn't understand. So before he talks to a legacy that we want to lead, and a legacy we want to live behind, hang on. Sometimes I get bilingual and I'm like struggling. I'm like, what's the word? ¿Cómo se dice? There we go. Sometimes it's the legacy we want to leave behind, and we're not focusing on the identity that God has called us to. So one of the people that I think about, we think about legacies in the Old Testament, we think about Moses. Moses, the epitome of the legacy in the Old Testament. He happened at the beginning of the Old Testament, and people were still talking about him at the end of the Old Testament. Like, that's how legit this dude was. There was plenty of people that came in after, and they were like, nah, Moses is still the guy. Like, so what I love in Exodus, God has this encounter with Moses where he says, wake up, Moses, wake up. He calls him to this burning bush and he says, wake up. And the next thing that Moses says is like, God is starting to talk to him. And the first thing that God says is here I am. Here I am. He doesn't say anything about who Moses is going to be. He doesn't say anything about the legacy that Moses is going to live. What God does, he doesn't even speak to Moses about his own identity yet. What he says is, here I am. Here I am. Here's my identity. And Moses, guess what? I'm calling you to my identity. And I think that's for some people in here tonight. Sometimes we're so focused on our purpose. And God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to be? Who do you want me to become? What he's saying is, no, I just want you to know who I am. Know who I am. Because if you know who I am, everything else will flow out of that. Jesus. If we just know who he is. And Moses goes on and he says, who am I? And Moses, you can literally go through Exodus and just you will have the same reaction that God does, because he goes through all of the reasons why he's not qualified. And I know God is looking like, I get it. I do. I promise I do. I do. Yep. That you can't speak. I get it. You're a stutterer. You're a murderer. We get it. We get it. And Moses was all of those things. But what God did not call him to was his identity at that moment. God had something so much greater than what he was in that moment. And so there's some people in here tonight that need to know that where you came from is not where you're going to end up. God has a legacy in store for each and every person here tonight. Each and every person here tonight. And that's the greatest legacy that we can possibly leave. Because what Moses was going to do by himself, he couldn't have possibly done without God. Simply put, if Moses would have continued to live his life, Moses would have been an all-right guy, but they wouldn't have been talking about him at the end of the Old Testament. People wouldn't whenever Jesus is talking about you, you got to be a kind of big deal. But people seriously were talking about Moses. So what God is saying is man, the same thing that I did for Moses. When I tell you to wake up, the next thing I'm going to tell you is about who I am. And then I'm going to tell you who you are in me. And what I love in Exodus, and I promise you guys keep me accountable for this, because when I read this, I was like, oh God, is that you? Tell me the reality. So this is in Exodus 7:1. So Moses keeps saying I'm not qualified, I'm not qualified, I'm not qualified. The Lord said to Moses, pay close attention to this. Lean in. I will make you seem like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. Read it for yourself. He said, pay close attention to this. I will make you seem like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. What God is saying is that your identity is no longer you, because when you hide your identity in me, you will appear like me to other people. You will appear like me. So what I'm saying tonight is let's let God have our identity. God, take it all in Jesus' mighty name.